Hello. This was an interesting pair of episodes. It was a two-parter, and I'm glad that they uh, worked out with my system because it would have been weird. I would have had to either do a one-off or do three at a time, but worked out. The Tale of Cutter's Treasure. It's a team effort by Frank and Gary, and they start the episode with Gary kind of classifying everyone. The camera zooms in on one of the Midnight Society people, and Gary's saying, and this person does the macabre, and this one does adventures, and this one does everyday people in extraordinary circumstances. And you can guess who was who. So that was an interesting way to start, and it's just also an interesting premise to have a tag team. Um, I think Gary started telling the story, and then in between stories, Frank was picking up. So I don't know. It was the first time where I kind of wonder what it looked like just to be looking at the storytellers. So anyway, it's Cutter's Treasure, as it suggests. It's about a pirate. Uh, the big deal guest star is Charles S. Dutton, and I think that he represents the most prestigious guest star that the show has had. I mean, there's the fun Nickelodeon ones. There's Nev Campbell, pre-Scream, and or in the neighborhood of when Scream came out. But just as far as like the top tier actors in the profession, I think that he's been on Broadway, and he's a big deal guy. So I was looking forward to this one, and he did not disappoint. Although not being the kid character, he plays the pirate. He is the villain, so he's not in as much of it until the end, and it's got an interesting end, and I'll get to that. So basically, the premise is, as often happens at the beginning of these stories, the parents are not going to be in the picture, and the kids are going to be left to their own devices. And Max is the little brother, Rush is the older brother, and they get on each other's nerves, but they can agree on one thing, which is they don't want the babysitter, who is older and smells funny. Uh, that's how Nickelodeon kids saw older people. Um, and this was where I'm pretty sure it signaled to me that I had seen the episode before, because the way they do that, the father gives them the check to give to. Did I write down her name? I don't. It doesn't really matter because she's not a major character. But he gives her the check to give the babysitter, and they hand it out to her through the mail hole, and the hand. They say the kids have the measles, or yeah, I think it was the measles, and the hand that they hand it to her with, they're doing the dad's voice, but the hand has the dots. So, which I suppose suggests to her that the dad has the measles too, and so she takes the check and leaves. And then it becomes older brother wants younger brother to leave him alone so that he can have fun. He wants to have his girlfriend over. He wants to kiss her, and so Max says, "You go to the Magic Mansion, and you get me this magic kit from Sardo, and then I will play with the magic kit, and you won't have to do anything." So Rush goes to Sardo's shop, and while he's there, he notices it says there's a old looking wooden chest, and it says, "Open the chest, win a prize." And apparently Sardo has had this chest for a long time, and the person who gave it to him said, "Eventually someone will come in, and I will give you a ton of money, Sardo, if you keep it there so that people coming in will try to open it, and we eventually find out who does." And but by the time Rush walks in, Sardo has mostly given up. But Rush figures, "I'll try it." He pushes it open. It opens right away, and Sardo says, "Well, you get to keep what's inside. I'm going to get paid, but you get to keep what's inside." And what's inside are a knife, a key, and a spyglass, which Rush believes to be broken. And that was another clue to me that I'd seen this one before. Um, it seems to be broken, but that's because you look through it and you see not what you're looking at, but something else. But it's not like it's just blank. It shows a cemetery, and I guess that Rush doesn't want to take the key or the knife home to his brother, but he brings the spyglass and says, maybe you can do something with it. Maybe you can fix it. And Max discovers that the spyglass is in fact not broken. And he interrupts his brother kissing his girlfriend on the couch to let him know, because it's important to let him know. And then the spyglass starts to kind of possess Max, and it of its own accord falls off the table. It rolls over to right where his bed is, and Max is reaching down for the spyglass, but then a skeleton hand reaches out from under the bed and tries to pull him under, and he's yelling for help. But of course, when Rush answers the call, once again leaving his girlfriend, the skeleton hand has disappeared, and it looks like Max was just throwing a fit for attention, which wasn't part of the deal. He got the magic kit. He shouldn't be bothering his brother. So Sandy is the girlfriend. She leaves, and then it's nighttime by this time, so they go to bed. And Rush dreams of the cemetery that we can see through the spyglass, which I guess is a local. No, it's not a local one. They get magically transported there later on. He dreams of the cemetery and of the ghost. Oh, the first scene is actually not really a flashback because it's the first in sequence. It's of this guy named Ian trying to kill the pirate Cutter, played by Charles S. Dutton, and he is not successful. So the ghost of that guy, of Ian, shows up and says what he wants is not what he desires. He says that a couple of times, which was my third clue that I'd seen this before, because that I've definitely heard that. Then Rush wakes up. Well, he's kind of attacked by vines, and then he wakes up, and then he looks through the spyglass and he sees himself wandering around that cemetery. So he takes the spyglass back to Sardou and says, "This is weird. I don't want it." And Sardou says that he's got to take it because it's his destiny to take it, and he has to take the other things too. And he says no, and this is where, and as he leaves without the stuff, the mysterious man who's paid Sardou to keep the chest, we don't see his face yet, says it's okay. When he's ready, he'll come back for it, and we just have to be patient. And that is when you will get your money. So let's see. The spyglass possesses Max again and kind of summons him to the water side. This like the what is it, Westchester House in the other episode. This house is right on the water. These are very nice houses where these people live. So the spyglass kind of, or not the spyglass, but Max is just in general possessed. He's like, it's his destiny or something to wander down to the waterline, and there's a rowboat coming slowly, and Rush sees his brother out there and runs out just in time to grab him. And as the boat arrives, and then the person in the boat turns around, it's a skeleton, but the skeleton gradually grows flesh, and actually it's fairly quick, otherwise it wouldn't be children's fare. And it's a one-eyed pirate, it turns out. And then, but Rush manages to drag Max back into the house where they think they're safe, but then Cutter comes in through the front door and just grabs Max, puts him under his arm, and leaves. And then we cut out to the Midnight Society, and there's a thunder clap, and they think, oh, it's going to rain. Hurry up and finish your story. So Frank is about to finish the story, but then the rain starts, and then Gary pours the bucket of water on the fire, which is good because the rain wouldn't necessarily have put the fire out completely, and so it's good that he made sure the fire was out completely before they left. So moving on to part 2. Sardou, Rush naturally goes back to Sardou to say this is what happened, and Sardou says, look, I don't know this stuff, but the guy who gave me the chest, he'll know. Sends Rush over to the guy who gave him the chest at his barbershop where he makes hair tonics, and it is Dr. Vink once again. Doesn't do the with a thing this time. Maybe they decided that no one could do it better than Nev Campbell. And he says, what does it say? I am not a nutbag, which is another thing that I recognize. I just remember somebody saying that on some Nickelodeon show. I am not a nutbag, which he's saying to Rush, if I'm going to explain this to you, you have to accept that I am not just making stuff up. I'm not crazy. So he explains that the Cutter's treasure. Cutter was a very bloodthirsty, bloodiest mutineer in history, I believe are the words I wrote down, and that he's guarding this treasure. And Dr. Vink wants to get some of the treasure because he wants to fund his elaborate experiments, which you never know what they're going to be. They could be movies that walk out of the screens. They could be hair tonics. And he shows the bottom of the chest says Ian Keegan, and Rush's full name is Russell Ian Keegan. They are related, it turns out, which is why it's Rush's destiny to have the knife and the key and the spyglass and to use them to kill Cutter, which is what his grandfather or great-grandfather, whoever that guy was 200 years ago, had tried to do but failed. So Rush accepts the knife, and he takes Vink to the cemetery. It is not clear, but I think that they go to Rush's house, and then they look through the spyglass, and it magically teleports them to the cemetery at night, as opposed to it's daytime at the house, but then it's nighttime in the cemetery. It's always nighttime in cemeteries. And when they are there, a ghost reappears and says that he's glad to see that Ian is going to pick up where he left off, and gives him a few more pointers I don't remember, and then Rush uses the key to open the crypt. There's a skeleton in there that talks to him. He walks back and falls through a trap door, and then there's another voice. It seems to be Cutter's voice that taunts Rush through the catacombs underneath the crypt. It's a lot like Indiana Jones. He's got to dodge out of the way of spikes that come out of the wall, and you see skulls. So it's reminiscent of that. And then there's what seems to be Max, but turns out to be, I wrote down this pirate's name, but I can't, let's see, Mr. Noise. It turns out that it's not Max, it's Mr. Noise, who kind of chases Rush a little bit, but that actually doesn't chase him because the knife, Rush holds up the knife, but can't have the kid stab the guy in the Nickelodeon show, or maybe you can. The knife shoots light at Mr. Noise and destroys him. Then he finds the real Max in a cage in the treasure room from the first scene, and then sitting in the corner is Cutter, who has managed to still, I guess he's a ghost or a demon or something. He's cursed to watch the treasure forever. And he's been waiting for the grand battle between him and Ian's descendant, or whoever was able to open the chest. Rush doesn't want to fight him, says, I don't want to fight you. But Cutter goes after him with his sword, and the dagger gets knocked out of his hand. Max, meanwhile, escapes the cage, emboldened by the presence of his older brother, and grabs the dagger, and then the dagger zaps Cutter, who falls back into a chair, gets wrapped up with vines. And now Vink is encouraging Russell to stab Cutter, but it just seems like a shame to stab someone who's tied up with vines. He got his brother, they want to leave. If he stabs Cutter, there will be no one to guard the treasure. He figures out the riddle. What he wants is not what he desires. Cutter doesn't want to keep the treasure safe. He wants to fight, but no one knows where the treasure is anymore, so no one comes to get it, so there's no one to guard the treasure against, so he doesn't get to fight. And so the way to punish him, the way to, I guess, break whatever the true destiny is that Rush is supposed to break the knife so that it can't be used to kill him or something like that. I wasn't exactly sure how that resolved anything, but that's what happened. Breaking the knife results in a cave-in, and I think the cave-in was also supposed to be like, now really no one will find the treasure. And I kind of then feel bad for the pirate who is cursed to guard it forever, but these things don't have to be perfect. Let's see. Oh, okay. They're climbing out. The ladder breaks, but Rush is still able to climb up the rope. The dagger was meant to punish Cutter by, I don't know, making sure nobody ever came to see him again. The telescope transports them back. Vink reappears. He is clearly magic. And then Sardo also is back there. And he... What did I write here? He says, Vink says he will double Sardo's compensation for something. I forget what. It get a little weird toward the end. But Sardo is left, and he's confused that there's no treasure. And then the parents get back, and the kids do each get a diamond out of what Vink managed to grab from the crypt. So that's the two-parter, and then I wrote down one more thing. Rush and Max never told the story, so no one else would hunt for the treasure. And if no one else hunts for the treasure, no one else will be in danger from the pirate. So that was fun. I wonder, I'm not going to look ahead. There's only, let's see, that's 4 and 5, so there are 8 more episodes in this season and 13 in the next, and there might be something else beyond. Oh no, I'm thinking of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But I'm not going to look ahead, but it'd be interesting to see what other tag teams there might be, like a Betty Ann and Tucker might be interesting. But anyway, yeah, so that's that. That was a very interesting, and there wasn't much post-story Midnight Society stuff. And so I won't talk for too much longer either. Next few episodes, I believe I recognize the title, The Tale of the Quiet Librarian, and even The Silent Servant. The word scarecrow is there in the thing. I'm trying not to read the summaries, but I think I recognize the next two from their title, and the other one is The Silent Servant and The Quiet Librarian. So I'll see you again. Well, there are a bunch of things I'm going to post between now and then, but as far as Are You Afraid of the Darks, I'll see you again after I watch those. Pleasant dreams, everyone.